happy. Adjust, right? Like whatever, it's just like white balance. It's an interesting effect. Hi. I love the opportunity of having a smoke with you. Because if it was more my thing, like privacy, we'd be enjoying it together more. I'm a social smoker. And a solo smoker. I'm always enjoying my cigarette and never needing a smoker. But this is going to be a quickie, yeah. Because I've already managed to half express why I'm uncomfortable right now. So therefore, it's like a worthy challenge because I feel on display on my balcony. To the to anybody on their balcony. Just feeling it as I tell you about it. I take this for granted, and I should try more to point it out. I say to myself, that's me on the regular. It's not me because I'm even talking to you right now. Like if I'm contemplating something, it gives me cause to re-examine it by virtue of its use in my mind and the world that I'm like building in my mind, which is not fiction, but determining what things mean to you is the spice of life. They have to make sense though. So that's why no matter what you do, your work self-qualifies you. Doesn't matter how you contribute to something bigger and smaller still than the symbols of these words can convey, but gorgeous and beautiful and wonderful and like wondrous and fantastical and mundane and ordinary and mind-blowing and mind-sucking. I don't know, I just wanted to do the opposite. Oh, I love that I lost my train of thought because I committed. I remember now. Thank you. To exploring the like infinity by virtue of my affinity of the isness, the cosmos, whatever. So I'm chilling. I was hanging out with some friends for a little bit, which is what gave me rise to remark to myself that it's interesting because I know all about my self-impulses and not feeling like I'm in control, and then not feeling like I'm in control, but like saying, oh, fuck it, I don't care. Because that goes back to what I guess I could hope at best to always be saying, which is take the time not to examine like under a knife, although you're not afraid to cut, but like listen to yourself. And when you notice that you say something deeply, which is to say it's like you feel it physically, you got a picture of it in your mind, and you call it some part of you. That's the practice of emotional mastery. And the avenue, vehicle, channel gateway, portal, all the things, none of the things, to this next stage, phase, opportunity, natural step on the forward march of existence that all of our atoms have already said yes to, is to integrate how you feel and why you feel it, and build a system, otherwise known as a world, within you that doesn't depend on anything else external. As you like traverse negotiating what's external and what's not external. Because like some things get to be like, you're internal, but you're also external, yeah. And the matrix of navigation is your emotions, which is different than how you feel. Like if you say you're angry, and you say it like it's a word that means a collection of like feelings, like you would say, I'm hot, I feel hot inside. Then that leans on towards like the feeling thought extreme of emotional navigation, and towards the middle is mastery, where you can recognize where it came from or why you're doing it, and all that becomes less important at some points and more important at some points. But the only important is it's like you're taking the opportunity to listen to yourself while you go through life. Because all that mental chatter, I promise, like dissipates, becomes manageable with practice, which is why meditation can be most often described and only described as like measuring your breath and staying connected to the flow of it, numbers, mantras, all these things, because anybody and everybody that continues and persists on this like self-listening and so self-activating path gets to the stage where it's like, oh, you don't have to do any of that shit, because you start to resolve the paradoxes of your complex beauty. Just like, and which includes like, oh, no one needs to be told this part. You know, like some things you just have to experience for yourself. The deception is that a lot that lies on some like more challenging to get to tier. No, we're saying that because it's easy for us and it's easy for you. And what you can understand and conceive, that's all you need to do. Because no one stays still. You only stay still in the places that you're not paying attention to, which is never just one place until you're one place. You can call this super interesting time that we're in. A lot of things by virtue of its like descriptors. And one of those things is somewhere between like unity and coherence. It's like we're a runted appendage, but we're never, ever separate. Even if that means like growing a new appendage, because all is within all, is within all, is within all. And the rest of us remembers the pieces of us on any scale, shell, valence, ring, tier, launch pad, that you imagine existence hooked into. Which means that a lot of people that are completely unaware are going to be pulled into a level of awareness that is radical, and in part overcoming my shyness, talking to my laptop in front of my patio, like door open to like prime time chilling on the balcony times yo. I've noticed with the same community, the loss of my privacy in a way that is not necessitated by virtue of my environment. Let me explain. I feel a loss of privacy when I'm stared at unconsciously, which I would liken to how people might watch TV, or if they're, and anybody really gets into a loud anything, be it on the subway, the restaurant, their family, but just enough removed so as to not feel like they need to do anything, which is not very removed at all. Anyways, I've noticed people that I care about in their inclination to see things like this. It's like gossiping with your eyes. Seeing a bunch of people that I feel, I want to say beholden with, because we behold each other. Like permissioning fun behavior, like dancing on your balcony, being weird lets people be less weird in their own mind, and then it's like meditation and expansion and contraction and connection to your greater pieces, creating a cohesive whole, which is the opportunity of our lifetime. But it couldn't really almost be any other way, because this is where we need to be also as moments of existing. See, you can build any kind of meaning for what anything means that you need at any given time. And when you allow yourself to let them change, and they can disappear outright. Just look at it as change. And like everything becomes a placeholder for a greater truth. And what you don't have to make up is that like love loves you. That's an aspect of the truth. Because not that we're lazy, but we'd also, like, it's all about developing the existential exercise of rest and activity. And maybe, in my own opinion, seeing how much consciousness and self-awareness we can invest into those experience, those like state points, and then maybe seeing who we can invite in and not. Anyways, it's interesting, right? And I'm as special as you. I got my everything from the same places that you got your everything, I think. And the I think is just considering a big tree or not, and us going back together. Lots of branches. Because obviously we all came from the same place. So, interesting day for soul growth. And I can validate that. extraordinarily because of like my interpretation of the moon calendar today, like the Solkin, the Mayan calendar, but also the dream spell calendar, which is the more common in our community, galactic signature. But that is like a prophesized variation, and it's very much its own rich, true story of that calendar. Like 2012 would be something that they share between them, but not in the exact same way. Today is spectral wind, which I think is like kin 103. And I can find 13 in that. I can find 1 and 3 of that. I can find 3, the symbol of O, and which is 0 or not, the circle, and the 1, just there. And kin, which can mean kindling, as well as family, as well as what the Mayans use it for. And that's the dream spell, and then the Solkin is the Yellow Warrior, or L, or Wisdom, which are 3 different interpretations coming from the same culture of a symbol. So I can like wrap and unwrap and bind as I see less necessary and more harmoniously. Because you want your life to mean something. If you keep trying to answer that question, it's not that far that you determine like that. That's up to you. And then a few dark nights later, that's actually a good thing, because you find other parts of you that are what you thought you were looking for, but also not enough. Anyways, man, it's an adventure. Plus, it's, yeah, man, Tuesday, October 22nd. There's lots of opportunity to be like, today is a big day. Also, tomorrow is Radiant Earth. Anyways, I'm night. Wind comes before night. I'm spectral Earth, so spectral wind. It's self-existing Yellow Warrior, which is 4. It's Tuesday, October 22nd. Plus, my mother is a Yellow Warrior. Dream spell, a Luna Yellow Warrior. So she's like a 2. She got that too. It's like, oh, and you know what all that needs to mean? Where's 2 me? Where's 4 me? What do they add together? I was like, yo, it's just a feeling and a thought coming together to, excuse me, to go in the direction I want to go in. But I just won't go in any direction. And I say that because neither will you. So you have to come up with good reasons to do anything. And that's intuition. Because you get to own all the thought, feeling, emotions that you share with no one. And then in co-creation, which is the other half, but only because we're dealing with infinities. And if I were to speak personally, it's like the half I love. If I'm allowed to love one more than the other, and I am, being distracted by being seen. And I don't blame anybody, because part of the plugged-in nature that is the truth. If we were allowed to talk about viruses and flus and you know what, fuck it, I mean that in different ways. If we're allowed to ascribe all kinds of bullshit meanings to that, then if we're electrical beings being manipulated electrically, then it goes to understand that we probably relate to each other and to each other through technology by virtue of these electrical means. Anyways, what was I saying? Oh yeah. There's an attempt at an energy exchange when you stare at anything unconsciously. At this state of our spiritual evolution. Because we've been trained to do that unconsciously. And when you look at anything, and you talk about it in your mind or with others in ways that have nothing to do with you, then you're almost like impressing your consciousness, or like that like bubble of unawareness, which is filled with all of this stuff floating in the collective unawareness, which is not fun stuff. Because the only items in the container of observation end up being these not your thought forms masquerading as you, and the object of your watching. And there's no difference when it's before you and when you're gossiping, which is why gossiping is so dissonating. And it wasn't always a stare, because these are my neighbors and I love them and I feel loved by them. Because I go out on this balcony and I sing loudly and I dance. I don't do anything to be seen or heard or anything. But if I also can feel like anything that I'm doing is like a gift to the environment because of the good feelings that I feel, that I'm vibrating, the light of my awareness on that alone, like opportunity, makes it more of a energetic offering. And that still persists and deepens, as good relationships between good people can only do when given the room and time. Just the same people that stare unconsciously will not fucking look unconsciously because of energetic expressions. But when enough people build like a field that's large enough for them to participate in, as a smaller percentage or whatever, And anyways, it's just like, yeah, I'm just rambling. There's so many things going on right now. I'm just focusing on one, and none of it's what I was doing just now. Yo, what I'm just okay. I'm gonna say this to them out because I'm reckoning what that was, and different than most of the time. I'm gonna return. Like I know that that's a call that love returns. Timely. Just like I'm fucking rambling now and like the topic or whatever. I was hanging out with my friends, and it's not that I can't turn it off talking about impulses before, but my conversation unerringly and like excitedly and participatorily, I don't know, ambitiously connected to life forcing living. Uh, it's like, yo, this is how we're building the better world, not how we will, but also how it's being done like present. And just like the permissioning of dancing on your balcony, playing music, and just being your fucking thing. And when it doesn't matter when, if you think somebody's watching or not, but if you act like nobody's watching because your consciousness bubble, by right, is absorbed in your doingness, you know, and you're not going to let anything like watching stop you from being the view that you want to be. Your now, your meaning. Anyways, it felt good. It wasn't so different than me ordinarily, but listening to timing and spending time with you. It's just good conversation between people, speaking about real things. You want to talk about how like the seasons changing? Let's discuss just how much we've got each other and don't need the things that are draining. I love you. I'm gonna go help grocery carry.